powerful species on the planet. And you went on to talk about the fact that you've, of course, had your years of experience negotiating with men, but you've been very privileged and almost in awe with some of your success with your negotiations with women. And why is that? What worked? What were the tactics that did not work?
I think that I want to build on this collaboration theme a little bit and also on this new way of working. So I think the rules, especially for my generation, where you were supposed to go and get a job and do what you needed to do from 8 to 5 and work at this company for a long time. Well, I started my career at Arthur Andersen and it blew up a couple years into me working there. And so I ended up practicing law for almost 10 years, and then I started my own consulting business, and I've reinvented myself a couple of times, and I have different brands. And I found that I was getting most of questioning from my female friends that didn't understand what I was doing and didn't understand why I was getting a manicure at 10 o'clock on a Monday morning. And it took me a long time. It took me a good year and a half to give myself permission to create a way that worked for me, create a way of working that worked for me and worked for my peak times during the day and worked for my schedule, and understanding that I own my own business, so I can work whenever I want. And I think that we need to really do a better job of collaborating with each other, and instead of, and I mean, we're making a lot of generalizations on this stage, I think, so obviously not everybody does this, but what I would say is if you see a woman that has an interesting work style, and you're curious about it, instead of, attaching doubt and questions and maybe, gossiping about it, sit down with her and go, look, I really want to understand what are you doing and how are you doing it. And I learned that when I left, I was at Shell Oil Company, and when I left my position, I got phone calls from other women executives at other oil companies who wanted to have these secret dinners with me to ask me, like, how did you find the courage to leave, and what are you doing now, and why are you walking away from practicing law? And what I found was if I made myself open and available to have the conversations, because I'd done it, I ripped the Band-Aid off and I had nobody to talk to about it, okay? I went on a kind of, I want to do something differently with my life, and when I decided, I did it. But I also realized that came with a big responsibility, because all these women, younger women, are looking at me and saying, okay, what are you doing? Because I'm really not happy either. And also older women were looking at me to say, can you explain to us what you did and what was the process and what were the emotions and how did you go through it? So what I think is that for those of us that have figured out things that have worked for us, whether it's raising funding or childcare solutions or different types of building of our brands or anything that's, a little bit quote unquote outside of the box, I do think we have a personal responsibility to make time and space to share and provide, information to those who are curious and want to know about it, and provide that collaborative environment. And what happened for me was I had so many women asking me to go to coffee and dinner. They wanted to talk about how are you doing this different career thing. It's so different than anything else that you've done. And so I actually created a seminar called Reinventing Yourself Professionally, and I was like, these are the things that I did, and I found it was really helpful to people. And I didn't realize how much I would get back from sharing my story with others, because at first I was like, nobody wants to hear about this. Well, they did. And when the very first time I gave this seminar, people sharing their stories back filled me up so much more than any job I had ever had. So I really think that we need to step out and reach out and collaborate and talk to people and set up at least the forum for the conversation. And if you're not comfortable, raising your hand in this group, fine, do something one-on-one, or pick up the phone or go on some anonymous, websites and just read information. But I really think we have a responsibility to help each other get educated and learn about different ways of working and ways of doing things, instead of us looking across the aisle and going, well, I couldn't do that, or that wouldn't work for me. Similar to what you were saying about, the bus driver. I'm sure there were people that were talking about her, but there were also people that were going, oh, that's really brilliant what she did. So I really wish we would all be a little less afraid to talk and be curious and ask the questions and get the conversation started, because I think that's really where I see lots of head nods. It's so good. I think that's really where it is. And the one thing that I do a lot of mentoring too. I think it's very, very important we mentor. I never had anybody. I mean, there was nobody for me to go to and ask some of these tough questions. And I found that, you know, sometimes some of the senior women were a little bit not easy to deal with for me. So I figured it out on my own. And now because I figured it out, I feel a responsibility to teach others how to figure it out.
Right. And Liz, you've been a big advocate